Okay, so for this session, it's intended to be what we call an FAQ. Now, if we were to ask, open it to a friend and ask for any question, the likely response that we get is cricket sounds. Nobody will ask anything. Because Asians are like that. When you are in a foreign uni outside of Malaysia, you know it's different. The questions are non-stop. But in our Asian context, nobody wants to ask anything. So what we have done here is basically, I prepared some of the common questions that pertain to the practice of prayer. More of like the challenges and the difficulties. So there are several here. Now, if there are any questions outside of what we have presented, then feel free to ask. Right? So Father Sinwe and myself will both share our experiences with regards to all these challenges, with also quotes from St. Teresa herself. Right? Now, the thing is, when like I said yesterday, prayer is about being present to God. Right? So she says, we must then disengage ourselves from everything so as to approach God interiorly, and even in the midst of occupation, withdraw within ourselves. Although it may be only for a moment that I remember I have that company within myself. Doing so is very beneficial. In sum, we must get used to delighting in the fact that it isn't necessary to shout in order to speak to Him, for His Majesty will give the experience that He is present. Being in God's presence doesn't mean you talk, and you know, after a while people get bored. You know, when you are meeting someone, and instead of a dialogue, it becomes a monologue. That person also will get fed up. So it's the same with God. The key thing here is because here, disengaging ourselves from everything. It's an interior journey. This is a very Carmelite spirituality because it's always the journey to interior first. Then inside, we converse with God. What we gain from God, it flows out into our dealings with others. That in a crux is what Carmelite spirituality is. The journey within. So, and here she says, only for a moment. So it's not about how much time we spend. It's how much are we able to be with God, even with just few minutes. Because sometimes you know that when we pray, that 1 hour, only 5 minutes we feel something or we have gained something. But that's good enough. Because God, as John the Cross will say in the book of the Ascent, God gives to each of us according to the mode that we can receive. So however much we can receive, He knows. So He gives us that much. We can only eat this much, we don't eat this much. It's like you can eat, you're a small eater, and go to all you can eat buffet. Wasted lah. So we take what we can. So just remember about when we pray, don't be so concerned about how much time I spend or how much have I gained, because this is an interior experience. How much we gain will depend on God. We don't know. We can't remember what we ate last week, but we know it nourished us. That's how God is.
Father?
Yeah.
Your reference 25.9 was it? 25 is only up to 4 paras.
Yeah, because this one, or 4. Because this is not from me, I copy from George, other George, but I didn't have time to check.
No, the reference is, it's not, because 25 is only up to 4 paragraphs.
We'll find out for you. Okay. I mean, we are not dealing with, if you can find the exact quote, you just let me know. Yeah, we'll find out for you. Just take note of it first. Now, the other thing is, the element of self-control must be also in prayer. Praying is about discipline, because our minds are like I say, monkeys going here everywhere. So if we cannot discipline ourselves to sit down, like what I said yesterday, set time for prayer and things like that, then it'll be difficult. Prayer, you can go to any religion, and you go to Buddhism, you go to all the Buddhist camps and whatnot, they literally force you to sit there for hours not moving. You move, you cannot rotan. That's how they enforce discipline, but we don't do that right? So if we cannot be disciplined enough to pray, then it's difficult. The reason you wonder why, if we ever do silent prayer for 1 hour, you notice the general public, within 5-10 minutes, they'll be scratching, moving, clearing of throat, coughing. Cannot. We just can't. But it can be done. Over years, we can actually practice it. So this is what St. Teresa says. It involves a gradual increase of self-control. Gradual increase. Self-control is not just one moment. And an end to vain wandering from the right path. It means conquering, which is making use of one's senses for the sake of the inner life. In sum, bear in mind that you can, if you want, avoid ever withdrawing from such good company, days of our Lord, and be sorry that for a long time you have left your Father alone, of whom you are so much in need. Now, the key thing is gradual increase, vain wandering, making use of one's senses for the sake of the inner life. Now, our senses are forever active. Our ears, our sight, our smell. We live in a world where our senses are always being bombarded by a lot of things. And it's easily to be led astray. Now, if you have done personality test before, there is one group of people we call sanguine. Okay, these are the life of the party. Any small thing that attacks their senses, you go away. So if you have the kind, then you need more self-control if you are like that, because you see one butterfly, you see something nice, hear something. So our senses.
The sanguine are the one that needs attention also.
Yes. So it's they basically they are hyperactive senses right? So it is about first calming our senses. Is why if you go beyond St. Teresa and go to St. John's or the Cross, he talks about purification of the senses, the darkness of the senses, and this is where we purify our senses of worldly distractions. And that's another level, right? But it is important to control our senses, tame it. When you hear something, ignore it. See something, ignore it. Smell something nice, ignore it. Unless you smell roses or flowers, if you're in the jungle, then run.
Be careful that when we talk about harmonized spirituality, at this moment we are actually at a higher level. But for the beginner, we still need all these senses, because we need to see the creatures, all this from us. So that's why we still need to connect our prayer. That's why at the very beginning we need a picture, we need all these things in order that we can relate, to our imagination for that relationship. But you cannot always use this. Let all these things, because that you have to enter into faith, you believe, even though you didn't see, but you believe. So it doesn't mean that it's not good. From time to time we still need all these senses to help us. And then the second thing is that we have all the central prayer, right? Have you tried the central prayer? Okay. Our Benedict XVI have mentioned that we go a long way to use central prayer. When you empty yourself totally. And if you go to read St. Teresa Avila, her book, she also confessed about this, because people told her, you cannot have any image in you when you come to the contemplation. But he's saying after many years that he discovered, no, you can let go anything, but you cannot let go Jesus. You must have Jesus with you in your breath. So you empty yourself. Why you empty yourself? Because you want to let Jesus come in. So central prayer is not totally nothing inside. If you have nothing inside, the demon can easily to occupy you. So Jesus must be the one with you. This is why the way of profession, you always say that when you put the sign cross, immediately you know you are with Jesus. You must invite somebody, your companion. You must have a companion, that's Jesus. Okay, that you have to bear in mind. Huh? Okay.
Sorry, Christine, you can't hear, is it?
The last one is on.
I mean, everything is on already, so all the switches are on.
There's the last speaker is on.
Is it okay, the echo? Really?
Yes.
Some of the speakers are not working.
You want it?
Now, this is another common one. Busy. No time to pray, and too busy. We have 24 hours and we say we are busy. If you move to another planet, you probably get 28 hours, 30 hours, we'll still be busy. I can give 100 hours a day, we'll still be busy. Because what is our priority? And how do we manage our time? Because very often we just do whatever that comes to mind first. In the corporate world, at least, when we are working in the corporate, at least when my own experience in the corporate world is, every morning I'll come, before I start work, I always have a daily planner. 8 to 9, 9 to 10, every hour, what do I need to do, what need to do, set out the task. So that at least you know what you need to do, what you need to accomplish for the day. And then they'll teach you in management, important, urgent, or important, not urgent, priority, things like that. Of course, we know that when we wake up, we normally don't do the kind of planning, where got time. When you wake up, just like Speedy Gonzalez, like that, just run and do everything, do. At the end of the day, it's like, what did I do? You get that? After a whole day, you'll be wondering what we were busy about. But prayer is, I would say, it's not because just I'm a priest. Even when I was studying, prayer was something essential to start the day. Well, I tell parishioners who come, they say, Father, too busy to pray. I say, okay, never mind. You start your day with God, you end your day with God. Morning, you get up, before you get out of bed, do your prayers. At night, before you go to bed, do your prayers. In between, if you can think of God along the way, that's good. When you are practicing the presence of God. Brother Lawrence of the Resurrection, if you have heard of him, the book. That is the simplest way to always keep God in our minds. Now, Teresa says, I was sorry for those who were so occupied with so many business matters and think that obedience commanded them. I thought that it wasn't possible in the midst of such commotion for the Spirit to grow. O Lord, how different are your paths from our clumsy imaginings, and how from a soul that is already determined to love you and is abandoned to your hands. You do not want anything but that it obey, that it inquire well into what is for your greater service, and that it desires this. The Lord will repay them well. Now you have to understand that when she writes all this, it's initially written for her nuns. We need to keep that in mind. But it can, because they are also busy. They are in the monastery, they are also busy doing things. It is the same for us. We are all busy. But we see what she says here. You do not want anything but that it obey, that inquire well into what is for your greater service, and that it desires this. I always like the Jesuit maxim, what Ignatius Loyola says, so AMDG, ad majorem Dei gloriam, for the greater glory of God. Whatever it is. I remember I went to the Philippines for World Youth Day, 1995, saw a news van, and they were covering the news of World Youth Day, and the van, it says, I remember very clearly, for the service of mankind for the greater glory of God in a news van. So I always remember this. I took that for my own self. Everything that we do, we have to ask God, what do you want? I'm busy, but it is you who gave me this life. You gave me this 24 hours. Can I not give back to God, even the little that I can give? That's why, and it's tied to the first way I said, it's not about how much time we give. It's the quality that we give. You can do your divine office, but you recite it as if the devil is chasing after you. Recite, zoom, finish. Okay, prayer done, poop, go. That's not prayer. That's not spending time with God. So even if 5 minutes we think deeply of God and desires what is pleasing to Him, that is better than spending half an hour reciting the rosary or saying the divine office and our mind go everywhere. I'm not saying we don't recite all those. We do. But I can teach a parrot how to recite a rosary. But that's not praying. Praying comes from the heart. Because we desire what God desires for us. So this is something that we need to ask. We always bring to conversation to God. God, what do you desire of me? It's not just in terms of vocations or calling, but day to day, what do you want me to do for you, for your greater glory?
Maybe we have to ask ourselves, do you know that if you don't pray, what will happen to you? This is important. Why Teresa Avila insists that you have to pray? Even you pray, you don't get any consolation, you don't get what you want, but you can't stop praying. You can't let go pray. So according to her experience, because once, if you go to read her life, in Teresa Avila's life, she mentioned that once I left prayer. And then he compared with her father. He said, I asked my father to pray. And Teresa's father really practicing prayer and exercise all the virtues. And contrary, Teresa stopped praying. And then he found that he became very sick. Teresa Avila became very sick. And she saw her father toward a very peaceful life toward his death. He saw, I see my father, how he entering into prayer life. And then I see totally he changed his life. Even he's facing death, he's so peaceful. And then at that time, Teresa let go the prayer life and she becomes so sick. And her father told Teresa, you know why you are so sick? Because you didn't pray. You didn't pray. You asked me to pray, but you didn't pray. You asked me to pray, then you can see you can compare. And then at that time, the spiritual director forced Teresa Avila, go back to pray. Go back to pray. So this is her experience. That's why when she wrote the way of profession, she put all these ideas into the way of profession. That's why according to her experience, don't let go pray. If you let go pray, you'll be like me. You'll be like me. You'll be very sick. Sick doesn't mean that bodily, maybe spiritually very sick too. You got it? Yeah, so prayer is so important for us. And then one of the reasons is that you don't stop praying because you don't know when God is going to give you the grace. Your God can anytime give you the grace. If you don't in silent in prayer, you will never know that God already infused the grace to you. So you lose the chance. So this is the wise thing. Always remember, don't forget, pray every day in your life. Okay.
So like what Father Simbi said about prayer affecting the either psychological, physical or emotional sickness. I mentioned this at the homily yesterday about body, mind and soul. So whatever have happened to one component will always affect the other. But we don't think of that. But it is good always to keep all parts of it healthy, so that each one will keep each other healthy, right? Okay, too many things. We have too many things on our plate, and prayer is always one of it. I remember a story that I read. It's called A Table for Two. It's a very old story. You might have heard it. It's called A Table for Two. So this man, every evening, he'll go to a restaurant, sit there, the table for two person. He order coffee and wait. Obviously waiting for the date lah. Every day he'll wait because the date is supposed to be 7. Wait until 8 p.m. Never turn up. He go pay and go. So every day he'll come faithfully. Every day. Then the waiter ask, you know she's not going to come, right? How do you know she's going to come? 1 month you wait, every day she don't come. Then the man said, I'm sure someday she will realize that my love for her is great, and then she will come. And then she goes back. Pays for the coffee and goes back. Then you see another side, a room, a girl's room or boy's room, a note there, prayer time 7 p.m. But I go there and said, oh, I forgot. I went out with somebody to hang out with somebody. I forgot this 7 p.m. I said, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm sure God will understand. That 7 p.m. is the dinner date with the man, Jesus. So the table for two is actually our prayer time with God. When you set a time, let's say prayer time 7 p.m., we're actually setting a date with God. We don't appear for the date. It's like Cantonese say, "Fong Fei Kei one." No, you like go aeroplane, don't come. But because we forget simply because we fill it with non-essential things. It's not that it's not important, but it's non-essential. Now, what does she advise? They must have a great and very resolute determination to persevere until reaching the end. Come what may, happen what may, whatever work is involved, whatever criticism arises, whether they arrive or whether they die on the road, or even if they don't have courage for the trials that are met, if the whole world collapses. Basically, determination and perseverance in prayer, whatever it is. Even if, let's say, got earthquake, there's few minutes in prayer. People say, this person, very holy very going, always praying. That's their business, what? We don't have to. The problem is sometimes we think too much of what people say or what's gonna anything that happens. Whatever it is, even if there's dryness, even if you don't have any consolation, perseverance is prayer is something that we must have in us. Otherwise, when dryness comes, when challenges and trials come, and we give up easily, then we lose so great a reward that God wants to give us. You want to share something, Fathers? No.
This is I always emphasize the paragraph 21, because after explaining the three virtues, so you have to practice the three virtues every day, because that's the foundation. If you don't practice this virtue, if you don't put it as a very fundamental thing for you to practice, and you must put all your determination to do so. Why to do so? Because at the chapter 19, if you go back to the Way of Perfection, chapter 19, he talked all about the water. The water, three waters, right? The three waters actually to tell you how important contemplation. If you can get the gift of contemplation, you will see you have a so beautiful soul. The soul so beautiful that you can really enter into a beautiful religious life or beautiful faith. So it is so important to have the contemplation life, contemplative life. If you know that how beautiful is it, how important is it, then come to chapter 21. Then you need to determine determination. It emphasizes the determination. But who really can put the determination? Only you have the desire to acquire the contemplative life. So you need to go back to the chapter 19, see what is contemplation about. The three water actually to tell you the contemplation. Okay? Fine? Okay, thank you.
The other thing is, in life, we persevere and determine to achieve so many things. So, get a good job, good career, finish our studies. We always whatever it is, we persevere. So why not apply that in spiritual life? If you take that kind of zeal and determination in our secular life and bring it to our spiritual life, we can do wonders. So, something for us to think about. Now, I think this one most of us will know, at least intellectually, we know what are the benefits of prayer. What can we benefit? It's not something tangible. You cannot weigh it, you cannot see it, but it is there. So she says, after laying a good foundation, if then the Lord should desire to raise you to higher things, He will discover you in you the readiness, finding that you are close to Him. May it please His Majesty that we not content to withdrawing from His presence. Amen. So here, a good foundation. That's the most important thing. We have a good foundation in prayer. This is basically what we established initial birth pangs of prayer. Right? Because it's like act of giving birth, so very, very painful, difficult. You read about the 4 waters of the 4 degrees of prayer by Teresa of Avila. They describe the different stages of prayer. The foundation, if the foundation not strong, like any building, if the piling is not deep enough, the whole thing will collapse. So it's the same for us. What is our piling? What is our foundation? Without that, we can't even talk about contemplation or mental prayer. But after that, he says, if the Lord should desire to raise you to higher things, He will discover in you the readiness, finding that you are close to Him. Sometimes it's God desire to give us, and we are ready. He will bring us to greater heights. Because contemplation is not for us we can't do it on our own. Contemplation is given by God. But again, this one we have to be careful, because when people think of higher things, they often think of visions, locutions, floating here and there, flying here and there. Now, all these things are not important in itself. If we don't desire it, because Teresa says, better don't desire. I think it will be one of the slides later, but if we get it, we get it. We don't get it, be satisfied with what we have. Because God knows what to give us. He knows when to raise us to greater heights and when to slowly bring us. As long as we ourselves are ready for that kind of experience. Because if we are not ready, we get the experience, we don't know what to do with it. And sometimes it may even lead us astray.
I once reflect on this discover in you the readiness. What does it mean, the readiness? I once have upon quite a number of times when I give talk on this chapter. What is the in you? What is the readiness? That's why I will always go back to chapter 26. That's why you remember 26, I have mentioned that this chapter is for all the beginner. And in this chapter, actually, start to talk about prayer. After practicing all the virtues, only by then, in chapter 26, Teresa of Avila start to tell you about what about prayer, what all the prayer terms are. prayer terms, for example, oral or vocal prayer, or the mental prayer, or recollection, and until enter into the quietness. Enter into the quietness. That's why the readiness, when you talk about contemplation, enter into contemplation, the gift of God, you have at least to reach the state of quietness. You have to enter into quietness, and quietness actually is the gift from God. But who can really enter into quietness, receive the grace, quietness? There are those people who are really practicing the virtue. They are already practicing the virtue. They can love, they have no enemies, they can anytime love you, love anyone. You know, people can love everybody, you'll be very quiet people. You get the point. If you are the person who cannot love, every day you see someone, you're angry, see someone, you say something bad, see someone, your enemy, you start to accuse it, how are you going to be peaceful? You got my point? The more you love, the more less enemy and less complaint to people, or less only see people weakness, you can easily to be a very peaceful person. And if you can let go the world things, because maybe certain things you really want, if you can't get it, you'll be very angry. It's just like the food you want to eat, and your wife didn't cook for you, you start to quarrel with your wife, for example. But if you are easygoing people, what you prepare, I eat. I appreciate, I'm so grateful what you have provided. You know, you can be so peaceful in your life. If something for you, you appreciate. If something no, you also appreciate. So you won't be the slave of the worldly things. And the third one, we talk about the humility. Humility. If you practicing this virtue to the extent that you can easily to receive the grace of quietness. So when you pray, you easily to enter into quietness. That's why you have to complete all these we call the virtues. Only come to the chapter 26 to start to tell you all the term of prayer. Yeah. So that's why I say the readiness is ready from the 26th. So try enter into the quietness, but the quietness is not you can get it, but God given you. But you need to practice all the virtue first in order that you can enter, receive the grace. And then in chapter 26 also mentioned that, you see, God always want to give you, but are you ready? You are not ready. Because you are not ready, that's why you couldn't receive. That's why in 26, chapter 26 is mentioned that it's not, God doesn't want to give you. Always go back to reflect that you are not ready. You are not ready to give. You are not generous enough. You are not generous enough. So when you become generous, means that you are already practicing the three virtues, you know you can receive them, you are ready. And this ready, actually, you are entered into the spiritual life journey. Faith, hope, and charity is part of your life already. Okay? Faith, hope, and charity is part of your practice. This we call the theological virtue. You already start practicing in your life. Then we call the readiness.
This one very important. We live in a world where comparison is something very common. We compare ourselves. Oh, I like this one because it says here, smarter, apa ni? Apa benda ni? Funnier. This is prettier, kinder. But both also awesome. Because all of us are unique, but all of us have our own different abilities. All of us are on the same road, right? Because if you compare our spiritual journey as a road, all of us are at different points. It doesn't matter who get there first, whenever I fly, we fly a budget airline or whatever airline, you notice something when the plane lands. What happens first? What happens when the moment the plane lands and goes to the sky bridge, and then it stops, then the seatbelt sign off. What happens? Everybody. The air stewardess even haven't opened the door yet, all already. Because I always ask my friend, you go down first, government gives certificate. You don't get anything, what? Even if you rush out, you're the first. You are still there. So it doesn't matter. You finish the race first car, last car. We reach the height of sanctity first. God not give you a certificate of achievement, say, well done. Don't have. So never compare ourselves with other people. Say, oh, this person very holy, that person. No. We are all on the same journey. Different degrees of growth. Now, so she says this. It is only right that you should try to understand how to train yourself a great deal in humility. In fact, this is an important aspect of prayer and indispensable for all person who practices it. It is important to understand that God doesn't lead all by one path, and perhaps the one who thinks she is walking along a very lowly path is in fact higher in the eyes of God. It's about humility and pride. The danger is if we advance and progress in our spiritual life very fast, there is a danger of being holier than thou. I'm already there. All of them are not there yet. That's where pride creeps in. I'm better than all of them. No, because that is already pride. If you have seen barley fields or rice field, paddy field, they'll grow. Usually initially it'll be empty, right? But when the grains all start to come out, the empty one will be standing erect like this. Okay, but when you start to fill, you slowly bend, very heavy, right? So the ones who stand up high and say, I've done it, usually the empty-headed one. The ones who are humble will slowly bow, because they know the more they have, the lower they should be. So this is why she stresses humility, and this important is God doesn't lead all by one path. You use GPS, they'll always give you options on go somewhere. 1, 2, 3. Which option will you choose? Some people will choose the old road, some choose highway. Even though GPS can guna pun sesat sometimes, but it is God will lead us according to the way that we can go. But it doesn't mean that this is the better path, this is a higher path, this is a more noble path. It's all the same. Because the destination is the same.
Okay, the three virtues, which virtue is the most important according to the result of humility, right? That's why the last one you talked about humility. Why is so important humility? Doesn't mean that love is not important. Because it talks about the community life. All the sisters, they come from different places and they are in different education, you see. So if everyone came in, just want to show off, then there will be a problem. You are coming, it's like the result, you come in, you only have to bring one thing. What is the thing? What is the thing? Humility. If you let go any other thing, you are not come here to show off your master, your education level or your capability. No. You just need to bring in humility. To avoid all this, what we call the jealousy. Jealousy is terrible. Yeah. And when we come to this humility, 17, let me see where I'm talking about this. Okay, because Teresa Avila mentioned about that, we are so different. Everybody is different. You cannot use one what we call the method to deal with everybody. That's why when you are accompanying any parishioner in your life, don't force people to follow your way. Or those people who not follow the way you think is hopeless. We are so different according to what Teresa will understand. God created us. We are so different. And then my way is not necessarily suit you well. That's why we need to really accompany and then to know really, what God really calling you to. And then also for us to understand that don't compare with other people. God has His way to guide you and also have another way to guide you. That's why gospel we say, well, the last one can be the first one. That is so clear to tell you that don't compare. Don't compare. So you just do whatever just build whatever your relationship with God. You don't compare with other people. Yeah. So this is the humanity. When in the front chapter when we talk about humility, he also mentioned about this.
No time to pray. Things is related to the busy part and the distraction part. No time. I think sorry, I went too far. But the Lord always provides the opportunity if we desire. I say always because although on occasion, and also sometimes in sickness, we are impeded from having hours free for solitude. There is no lack of other time when we have the health for this. And even in sickness itself, and these other occasions, the prayer is genuine when it comes from the soul that loves to offer the sickness up and accept what is happening and be conformed to it. And to the other 1,000 things that happen. Prayer is an exercise of love, and it would be incorrect to think that if there is no time for solitude, there is no prayer at all. Solitude is not just physical solitude, the inner solitude. Can I withdraw away from everything and draw within myself? This is why the one of the quotes talk about withdrawing into the self, withdrawing from everything else. Because in whatever situation, even if we have physical solitude, it doesn't mean that we are really in solitude, as long as we are surrounded by things. But if you can internal solitude, that's different. Which is, she says, whatever it is, even if it's sick, you still can. Because the most important thing is, just now I talked about humility, now I talked about exercise of love. Prayer is not something that, it's not a duty. Sometimes we take it as a function, as a duty, but it is not a duty. It's an act of love. I have a sentence that I want to share, but unfortunately it only makes sense in Mandarin. I'll try to translate, because there are these three letters. Okay, is 要我做, you want me to do, right? Need me to do. But if you take the first word 要 and put it in the middle, it becomes 我要做. You just shift one character. So from you want me to do, it becomes I want to do. Just by shifting one character. So that shift is the one that we are looking for. That shift of understanding. Boss. Anything to say, boss?
Yes, always a lot of things to say. Christian, when we talk about Christian at the end, it's a matter of how much we love, right? It's not how much we pray, it's how much we love. And the fruit of prayer life is nothing but love. If you really a prayerful person, very good relationship with God, at the end, you will be a person who really share love with other people. That's why Carmelite spirituality, we talk about the first charism is prayer. The second charism is what? Religious community life. And the last one is our apostolic work. Apostolic means that you have to go to love. You go to love. That's why the result of Veda come to understand her vocation is nothing but love. And the result of Veda also mentioned that after reaching this contemplation, and she also gave us a very important advice. No matter how, you have to continue to love. No matter how. Yes.
And I have this question.
Yeah.
I come across a lot of people who can love other people.
Yes.
In church, they can be very kind, But when they come to their own loved ones at home, they just find such a challenge.
Yes.
So they don't want to love them. But it is such a struggle.
But he haven't come into the really, what we call, according to the real profession, we haven't come to the so-called spiritual love and perfect love. Not yet to that extent. Yeah, not yet to that extent. His love outside is purely for self-qualification. For self-qualification. So if you really enter into what we call about the perfect love, you will bear the cross of your family member. You bear the cross for everybody. Yeah, that will be the difference. That's why when we talk about love, it's the perfect love. It's not when you tell about the 3 degrees of love, it's not the second love that my friend or those who love me. No, it's already come into the Jesus love one another. That's the Jesus love. That's different. Yeah. This is why you at the end, it's the love that we exercise.
Actually, you want to talk about exercise of love. I know we are talking about St. Teresa, but if you read the story of a soul, you'll see that exercise of love being lived out. The story of a soul very difficult to read for most of us, because it seems to be written by a xiao mei mei, like a little girl, which it is. She was early 20s when she wrote that autobiography. I'll be very honest to you. When I was discerning, I went for retreat in our formation house. I was asked to read the story of a soul.
Sorry.
And don't like her. So I was asked to finish the whole book within 5 days. It took me 3-4 days just to clear manuscript A, because I cannot read, cannot tahan. If you have read Story of a Soul before, you know what I mean. It's so lovey-dovey. I see, just take this thing and just burn it. It's such a unrealistic situation. And for modern day, she'll be called neurotic already, because she's always fluctuating here, that throwing tantrum, neurotic. But when you get to manuscript B, you realize that manuscript A is actually the foundation, laying the foundation for her to love for all sake. That's why her motto, my vocation is love. Offering up her suffering for the sake of love of Christ. Bearing with all those in the convent for the love of Christ. He says, to be edified by the smallest acts of kindness that the sisters practice, and not be scandalized by whatever else they do. That is when you read that kind of love, then you know you are there.
But one thing I have to remind you, when we talk about love, Teresa, about love, even all the saints talk about love. It's not that a perfect love immediately to receive the grace from God. what they mean the perfect love is that moment when you need to share the love, that moment you can turn into things into love. For example, you like our Holy Father, no, like our Pope Francis mentioned that he take example like Teresa of Calcutta. He said when he are doing cooking or the kitchen work, a very small thing, but he do it with his love, with her love. For example, if you see someone you don't like in front of you, maybe in the past you just walk away, or you just feel so angry. But if the moment you maybe next time you see him or see her, and you found that you are not doing this way again. Maybe you say maybe you just see him and say and give him a smile, or maybe you just okay, I will not run away. He's in the church, he do his prayer, I do my prayer. So, and maybe you want to talk back about him, but this moment you stop the topic, talk back behind him. You know, when you start to put love in, even though a small love, and you are already perfect. So perfection means that in every small thing we are willing to change our mindset and put love in. That small love is already the perfect love. It's already the perfect love. This I always take this example as a kindergarten children. You see, when they have done good, they do something good. Teacher will give them a flower. Okay, this is the flower because you have done something marvelous today. Because I saw you love some, a little boy, a little girl, and I think this is the problem for you. This is a little flower. That's why when you go to heaven, it's not God not see the big picture of love, but how many small love that you make your effort to love. You understand that? So this is perfect love. Perfect love means every day we willing to for the sake of love, we change. We're willing to give people love of Christ, and that's the perfect love. Yeah.
Distraction. Something that everyone faces, regardless of how advanced we are in prayer. Distractions are always there. Can we get rid of distractions? No, cannot, unless you're 6 feet underground. Can. But as long as we are breathing, living, and moving, distractions are always there. Now, what she says about distraction. Distractions are unavoidable and should not be a disturbance or affliction for you. Pay no attention to these thoughts, and let not blame the soul for what a weak imagination, human nature, and the devil cause. Here, pay no attention to this thought. This is what I shared yesterday about when we are praying, things come in. Just let it go. The moment we start latching on to that, it will take us away already. This is why for me, I found useful is if I worry about something, I just write it down and put it aside. Otherwise, you continue to plague us. And she says, I consider distraction an incurable disease. You cannot cure. It's always there. But it's either we learn how to live with it or we surrender to it.
In fact, distraction always advise you to go back to the three virtues. The more you practice, the less distraction you will face. You see, most of the distraction actually come from these three. If you really, you as you say, you cannot avoid. So what you can do is you keep on practicing the virtue. This is the first. This is, I think, the most useful way. That's why we friars, we need the formation. The formation, there's so many years of formation actually is helping us to enter into less distraction from all the world. So we are practicing all these three virtues, you see. Then I always like to use Mother Teresa's word, bit by bit. And in Mandarin it said that 不知不觉, you know 不知不觉. You weren't aware, but it will come in, even though without informing you, you already entered into the peak of the summit of the prayer. So you remember, you just do everyday practice your virtue, and one day you will realize you're already in the peak of the mountain. You got it? So just keep on practicing. And the second, my personal experience, as it's mentioned, that incurable disease. Incurable disease means that we human beings, we cannot cure. But who can cure it for you? God. God can cure for you. That's why you must have intentionally, every time when you found that this come back again. Don't just let go. You know, I already get advice from priests or whoever. They say you just let go. Don't think about it. But I find, how can I don't let go about it? They always come back. How? And then my personal experience, I come to this understanding through my many years prayer experience. Know this is something disturbing you. And accept that you are so weak to overcome this. You try many ways so hard, you still cannot avoid that. Then you need to seek help. So you every time you come in, and I know how to talk to God, like friend or like Father. I say, Father, you know I try my best. You know I'm not lazy. I know that this is my problem. I know that you know that I'm trying. And you know that I'm so weak. Now I offer to you. I let you decide when you want to remove from me. I will be very strong will to give it to the Father. Every time it's coming, I offer it. But you must be very strong will to tell Father that, give me, if you think I still can do it by myself, give me the strength. If you think that I'm so weak to do, then you do it for me. Okay? You give me the grace. Or you remove it for me. And I found it works. It works. But God has His own time. You must be. You need patience. But keep on doing that. Talking to Him. Offer to Him. And also seek help and show your willingness, for Him to purify. This is the true way that I can share with you. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's to add, because on the spiritual side, now the distractions, if the day-to-day mundane thing, that's okay. But if it is recurring, because when we pray, certain memories may crop up. Certain past events or something may surface. And if we keep plaguing us, it's preventing us from praying or advancing in prayer. That's when we need to know that we also need to seek help. Not professional help, okay, but rather find someone who's advanced, who can help us to maybe talk about it and see how we can deal with that. Because my own experience in prayer life is because I had to go for 1 year of therapy. I went for psycho-spiritual therapy for a year when I was a seminarian. A lot of issues and no, it really hindered my prayer life and my other life as a seminarian. So I went for about 1 year, once a month of really it's not just psychological therapy but it's spiritual both together. To deal with that. Then I was able to move on a bit more. So if you have that kind of recurring thing, don't be afraid to seek help, right? Delight in prayer. Now this one, the other thing is, I put this because for beginners, God gives consolation and prayer. We always say when we begin in prayer, sometimes we experience a kind of joy and consolation, always walking on air, like that kind of feeling. But after a while, God may slowly take it away. No. So that is a challenge. Because if every time we want to enter into prayer and feel good, then we are in trouble. But we don't always get consolation or joy. As for dryness, it seems to me that the Lord is now treating you as one who is strong. He wants to try you in order to know the love you have for Him. Whether it is present in dryness as well in the spiritual delights. Take it as a very great favor from God. Don't let it cause you any grief, for perfection does not consist in delight but in the virtues. When you least expect, devotions will return. Now, this is what Father Simi keep emphasizing. Delighting in the virtues is not delighting in consolations or joys. Because if we are joyful all the time, I recommend you to go Tanjung Rambutan already. Or in Singapore, you go IMH. Go Bangkok, get yourself a room. If we are not always joyful, the joy can be in different forms, but it may not, the feel-good factor may not be, because people say, Father, I go to Mass, I don't feel anything. But how do you know? Internally, we won't know, because God is testing us. And dryness is something not because God wants to punish us. It's about making us stronger. Because when we're able to go beyond the dryness, then we move on to the next stage. And the dryness will keep coming. It's not a one-time event. It comes and it comes. Because it's a test of our resolve and our determination.
And if you want to understand all this, the best person you can go to is St. John of the Cross. St. John of the Cross really a master who tell you about the dark night, okay, the purification and gratification, and all this. This is why I come to Karma, because I'm really attracted by St. John, and with that I fully understand one thing is that any problem in your life, any suffering in your life, any dark night in your life, we consider the punishment, we consider something, maybe not good, you see. But after the spirituality of the St. John of the Cross, all this turns to be a good one. And you enjoy your dark night. You enjoy your suffering. Because the suffering, the dark night behind, is the grace. It's the grace. Because God wants to raise you up. It's why He had to put you into the dark night or challenge you, and this challenge may be for you, you are not ready, that becomes a suffering for you. Okay, or because you don't want to let go, that becomes suffering for you. But all this, before I will see it miserable things, but after with this spirituality, I found the grace. And I know God waiting for me to grow. And I willingly accept it and face it and work on it. And this is the teaching of St. John of Cross about dark night. It's a beautiful spirituality. Okay.
This is another thing that sometimes I get questions. I want to hear God. I want to hear God's voice. But if you're hearing voices, you better get yourself checked or start saying the rosary. God is not like Old Testament times. Old Testament times, God spoke directly to people. But if you look at the New Testament, in the letter to the Hebrews, the author says, but now God speaks through his Son, speaks through his words. So it's not a physical hearing of voices. And even then, even if let's say you hear God's voice in our mind, we should not be attached to them. This is what she said. Hearing his voice is a greater trial than not hearing it. I don't mean that these appeals and calls are like locutions. His appeals come through the conversations of good people, or from sermons, or through the reading of good books. And there are many other ways of which you have heard in which God calls us. Or they come through sickness and trials, or by means of truth which God teaches at all times when we are engaged in prayer. However feeble such prayers may be, God values them highly. It's not about hearing God's voice. We hear God's voice. This one we all know. We talk with holy people, people have lived good life, good sermon, reading of spiritual books, all kinds of ways. You look at nature, you get beautiful sunrise. God communicates us through that. A nice waterfall, a beautiful sea, a nice song. Whenever I do Mandarin Masters, there's always, throughout the Mandarin Mass, there's always one hymn that will make me choke up. Not choke because my throat got problem, but choke up with emotion.
Cry.
Not cry lah, not yet lah. Getting there lah. Getting there. One time I was like, they are singing the communion hymn. I give you communion to 身体. I cannot say it because I want to cry. Very hard to say, I have to control myself. But that's how God speaks to us in the ordinary things of life. So she says, hearing his voice is a greater trial not hearing, because when we hear it, we want more and more and more. If we don't hear it, then we think that God has abandoned us. So it's better not. But if it's there, it's there. If not, don't go and hunt for it.
But it can be quite embarrassing, because suddenly you talk to people, strangers, and then suddenly you know why you want to cry. And then you felt like the more you cry, then you get into like so easily the well so easily.
I'll let you answer it. I'll let him answer it.
Of late, at times it's like, oh my God, what's happening? Like you get so easily.
Crocodile tears.
It's common. So good. Need to see the doctor.
Something not right?
I share a little bit about this fear of God, fear of hearing God. Our life as a Christian, I always put three pillars. Okay, three pillars. The first pillar of God is the gospel. Okay, the second pillar is the prayer life, prayer. Okay, and the third one, I put it as a spiritual exercise. What is about spiritual life? Spiritual life is to put yourself into those, our activity. Those activities those activity actually for the soul. The activity can communicate with the soul. Because your soul needs also to talk to someone. But soul only talk to God or to Jesus. And the soul will feel touched when he hears the voice of God. Okay? So where the exercise, the spiritual exercise, that you can really allowing your soul to listen to God. So when we talk about spiritual exercise, we said to enter into those activities that you can allow your soul to work something. So what are those activities? Mass always the moment, not talk to you bodily, but communicate with your soul. Mass is fully your soul participating in the Mass. even though you personally there, but all the muscle, all the words are actually pumped into your soul. That's why the young people feel boring. Because the young people want the, bodily happiness, the senses, all this good to be good, you see. But mass is not there. Mass is something, must be silence, must be, really, the word of God enter into your soul. This is why we say don't, simply run away from your one mass once a week. If every day you can go to mass, that will be marvelous. But you cannot at least 1 week. You have been in the world, affected by the world, and at least this will allow your soul to enjoy the words of God. That's spiritual life. And adoration, and come to this retreat. All this, we are all prepared not for your body, for your soul. So you can understand, that's why you need to have all this life. That's why we call spiritual life.
So, Father,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it correct. So, so if a person want to practice, like can mass, can retreat, so somehow the soul is more at peace, so will not cry so easily, is it?
It doesn't mean that you don't cry so easily, but gradually, a bit by bit, your cry may be more relevant. Maybe more relevant to what God thinks the tears are supposed to be. You see? So you will change. Yeah. Okay.
Can I ask something about tears and crying?
Yeah.
Don't we need to analyze why we are crying, the cause of our crying? Because not all crying is good.
Yes, not all cry, not all tears good.
Not
Not all
everything is
tears
from the
good.
Lord. So.
That's why you need to purify. When you have been purified by God, you will find that the tears come out really touching people, and even touching yourself. Like our Father Philip, I think Father Philip's tear, if really choke up and cry, that is a pure from the Holy Spirit.
Cry because the mask is too long, cannot do. No lah, just kidding.
Every year during the Lent season, Good Friday, every time when we sing Our Father, I definitely will cry. Every year, non-stop, every year, when singing Our Father, my tears just come. Yeah. And I know this is a purifying me. I know that's a purifying me. Yeah.
But Father some say tears are healing.
Tears are?
Healing.
It depends, it depends. If the tears really from God for healing. But sometimes certain tears is not really for healing. I encountered sisters, not religious sisters. Even read gospel, he cried. Even sharing, he cried. Every time when they touch the gospel, he cried. I don't know what make him so easy to cry.
Even though reading also cry.
And then that cry already become annoying.
Yeah.
Cry that is annoying.
I know that one. I know that person.
And
Someone we know
sometimes it's
lah.
a matter of
就台湾那婆婆
Personality.
我们人这
Some people can cry very
读经都
easily
哭
for anything.
But don't tell yourself, I force myself not to cry. No, don't force yourself not to cry. Because here, leave it to God. I mean, you keep on practicing purifying yourself, then you will find your tears will be a real tear.
No, because it's very annoying. You are right. It's very annoying. So it's like, now you see I cry.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
Yeah. It's good.
Tissue paper.
Don't give negative for yourself first. You listen to me. Don't put it as a negative thing. Anytime when this comes in, you bring it back to God. You just say, God, thank you, given me this tear. Okay? You put it as a God gift. Understand? Make it as the Holy One and let God to purify it.
But
Okay.
it can't be so holy.
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because it's beyond your capability, beyond your capability. But what you can do is thanks to God for giving you the gift of tears. Okay, for giving you the gift of tears, and He will heal you and guide you. Don't worry. Okay.
Then will we know whether our tears is from our Holy Spirit or from
In fact, when your tears come, you will really a purifying outcome. Definitely a purifying. I recall my own tear after many years. I stopped crying, and the first I remember the tear when I watched the movie. A movie is a little boy. What's the name of the
哪一个？
面包与酒？面包与酒。
the loaves and the...
What's the
I don't know that movie.
The boy
Too old.
Send red and wine.
Yeah, the bread, wine, and you know the little boy.
Movie too old.
Adopted by
Tak tahu.
the monastery, and then he met Jesus at the top floor. Jesus came down from the cross because he gave the wine
too
bread
holy
to
for me.
Jesus. You remember the movie? You never watched that movie?
I don't even know about
Yeah,
that.
马加利诺面包与酒。
Too holy Too holy movie.
That
Don't know.
movie,
We're just have the Disney
Yes.
that movie in English. Actually, it's Italian movie. I think a Spanish movie, but they have
wonder.
an English subtitle, or maybe translation. A very beautiful movie. And then that movie really made me cry. And I know when I cry, I know that God called me already. And that made me conversion. And I know this is from God.
Can we know the title in English?
Yeah, we can send out to the group. Okay, thank you.
Just to add, because you know if you watch romantic comedies or romance movies, right? You see two people suddenly meet, then they're just, and then the background suddenly fade, and then you hear people talking just aesthetic. There's two people who. In terms of psychology or psychospirituality, there are two ways of communicating. We either talk or the soul talks. The two souls communicate. What do you think people are? They instinctively know what the other person is thinking or what they want to do. It's not sixth sense, it's the soul communicating. So if you study psychology or psychospirituality, that is the level that God is telling us. From soul to soul. We may not know how it takes place, but it's there. So that's how we feel touched by certain things. I cry at Mass not because of anything, just the words that are used in the hymns that touch me. Because at the moment when I need it.
Song of Solomon, Song of Soul, and
Mi Tai Chi. Apa benda? Tak ada nampak lah. Sorry, mata buta. Apa benda ni? Miracles of?
Masalino.
Oh, okay.
Masalino, bread and wine.
I sent to the group chat yesterday.
Okay, so
There are two versions. I prefer the old version. Old version more touching.
watch Star Wars lah. Lord of the Rings.
Because old version is black and white. The new version with the color already.
What we believe matters. Now, it's a journey. It's not, our whole life is a journey. Our destination is heaven. So, no matter how you advance, we are always journeying. And we're all pilgrims making our way. boleh. Okay. Most of us think of spiritual progress as requiring us to do more, even as our heart cries out to us to lay our burden down. We renew our efforts at Bible study, scripture memory, as Christian service, fearing that we will be discovered in our weakness and need. We try to use whatever small story we have been living in competence, gifted speaking, service to others, and so on, to cross the chasm between living in the flesh and living spiritually. But only Christ can carry us to rest. Spiritual progress is not, I like what I think it was St. Ignatius of Loyola said. We pray as if, we work as if everything depended on us, but we pray as if everything depended on God. The Benedictine maxim of ora et labora always applies. Work and prayer. You must have both. So spiritual progress is we work, we make our efforts, whatever is possible, but we know that it is God who will carry us the rest of the way. We do not make it on our own. This we know. But until we are able to, and this is what Father C.V. emphasizes in the beginning, the three virtues, and what Christine you shared with them about the DHL. Detachment, humility, love. In the very first few chapters of Way of Perfection, you'll see this already. She emphasizes this. Why? Because it's a prerequisite to prayer. If we do not have these three, then how are we going to even pray? We can't detach ourselves from the world, or even from ourselves, or our notion of what is prayer. We cannot humble ourselves to say we need God, and we cannot love. It's not just about loving God, because the greatest commandment is what? Loving God, loving neighbor as ourselves. And the letters of John say this very clear. We are liars if we say we love God but we cannot love others. How do you claim to love God whom we cannot see, when we cannot even love those who we can see? St. John, very, very clear. St. John, not St. John the cross, St. John the evangelist. Right? So, it is a journey, but it is God who is carrying us on that journey. So, do not worry about how much I progress. We as long as we do our best, we practice the virtues, we try to live our spiritual life. The rest, we leave it to God. I said, always remember, work as if everything depended on us, pray as if everything depended on God. Yes, apa mau cakap?
Remember the first night I mentioned that pray and life. Okay. Our Carmelite saints, all the doctrine from them is not from mine. It's from their life. From their life. Teresa Avila mentioned that, I'm not the one who know how to pray. I don't know even how to pray. But it is like you use a chaser, pray the chaser. How to design this, there must be some ways people who design this might have the experience, to work it, how to run. And Teresa Avila spent almost 30 over years, and questioning, talking to the spiritual director, and receive the grace, and then always, in that challenge. And then from there, bit by bit, he come up with what her understanding of prayer. And then today we learn about prayer is purely from her life. That's why you have to read her life, because her life is so perfectly showing us that how he come about the way of perfection. The way of perfection, actually the teaching of the way of perfection, it all come from her life experience. Her life experience is so beautiful. And that's why it comes to me that people, the saints must be a very humble people. Because they are from from life to learn all these things, to create the grace from the Lord. And without the grace, they will not have this kind of wisdom to share with us. And because of this grace, and they all sow all this grace into life again. When people always ask me, Father, you're so busy, how do you really pray or not? You're so busy, every day here and there. See? Then I ask, Mother Teresa, our Holy Mother Teresa, Avila, is she very busy? Of course. 17, 18, less than 20 years, she built up how many foundations? 17 foundations. Does it mean that she always work without prayer? No. He prayed and he worked and always in life. That's why our Christians are always remember we are, even though we are away from the world, but we are always in the world. We are always in the world. We pray for the world. Yeah? So let's come back to our teachings, very simple. Prayer life at the end must go back to life. And when we talk about life, it's go back to love the world, love the people.
Last slide. God understands our prayers even when we can't find the word to say them. St. Paul says this, when we are not able to pray, the Spirit will lead us to pray. Right. Not even with words, but with sighs, yes. So, it's not about just words, but with our whole heart, with our thoughts. I think we have covered quite a number, and some of you will ask your questions. Now, if there anything else that you want to ask that has not been said here.
We have only 4 minutes.
We have 4 minutes left, unfortunately.
4 minutes for you. Luckily, I put 1.5 hours. Last batch we have only 1 hour. Okay. Any? As I said, don't worry. Keep on searching for God, and don't give up. Learning this spiritual exercise. Yeah. Yes, Peter.
Can Father talk about St. Teresa on the subject of discernment?
Discernment? Okay. I am Father Philip, discernment.
This is called Tai Chi.
Very heavy subject.
Yes, it is. Because if you want to answer in one sentence, I can't. It's impossible to answer the question simply by just talking like that. But
okay.
Yeah, it's. I mean, discernment. There's so many factors, because it's not just about us. It's about God. What God calls us and how God calls us, and to what path. Because it's a whole process. It's not. Even discerning what God wants for me. That is also, it takes a lifetime to journey actually. It's not just that one night I discern or 1 month I discern. If you ask me my own discernment process, am I sure that I'm supposed to be a priest? I can't tell you it's 100%. 60%, good enough. But maybe the expert can answer.
And when you come to discernment now, why you want to come to spiritual exercise or to learn spirituality? Why? Actually, why I want to push spirituality to people, to learn spirituality? Because from spirituality, you know to learn how to do discernment. It's important. We have problem because we don't know how to do discernment. If you know how to do discernment, means that the first thing you know how to guide yourself, and later you know how to guide people. So we are brothers. Actually, we learn all this, and supposed to be the spiritual director for people. And what is the purpose of the spiritual director? Is help you to discern. To discern what? To discern whether what comes to your mind or what comes to you, is it from God, or from demon, or from your own desire, according to the spirit or the way of profession. The three things that Sarita say, these three things, why we need to discern is you make sure this is from God, not from a demon. And maybe it's from your own thought or your own desire. So if something comes to your life, you can so sure that, like Teresa Avila, the whole life of Teresa Avila actually is doing the discernment. Because when he received the grace from God, the contemplation, the mystical experience, and during the time they say, no, you do not go into so deep, because this is the work of demon in the 16th century. That's why they don't allow the nun to enter into deep prayer, because they know that demon is working in it. It's why they cannot pray. They don't want them to pray. That's why when Teresa Avila receiving the grace, she also worried. Is it the demon coming in? That's why when the spiritual director said, you just forget it, don't mention it. This is the work of demon. Okay, what you write, I will not allow you to post to other people. You just fire it, ignore it. And Teresa had no experience, and then the spiritual director also mentioned to her, that she followed, she obeyed. But the problem is that God keep on giving the grace, and she found that the grace increased the faith, and the grace increased the love, and the grace increased all the good things. Then she started to think, no, this must be from God. If not from God, the effect will not be love, will not be faith, hope, and charity. All these things is good for the faith, for the people, for the church. That's why he gradually bit so sure that this is from God. And then she also experienced the demon temptation. That's why she can compare easily what from the demon, what from God.
Father, it's like we need to check the fruit, you mean?
Yes, of course. Food always the one for us to check. Yeah. But what I want to say that, the discernment always comes with the experience. Always comes with the experience. So the more what we call the spiritual exercise you do, the more you will feel the presence of the Lord and the presence of a demon as well. Okay? But don't worry. Don't worry. Even the demon temptation here, but anytime you turn to God, you will be safe. You got what I mean? As long as you are humble enough, you are not easily to be tempted by worldly things, you don't worry. You don't worry. Every time, even the temptation comes in, you turn to God, you pray to God. God, is it from you? Before you say yes to it, you talk to God first. Or even if you don't know, you get a spiritual director to help you to discern. And from here, you learn the discernment. Okay? Bit by bit, you yourself, you will find, gradually you will know how to discern by yourself. Alright?